good evening, everyone. All right, I'll come in here a little early so that I can invite my friends before I set up the video. So just bear with me while I invite. At the same time, I want you guys to invite your friends and family. The subject tonight is about PTSD and CPTSD, and I learned a lot by listening to these programs, because I have family and friends who has this, and so I know how to cope with them, coexist with them. It's important. We all need to know how to be and how to love them as they are, and how to get the appropriate help for them as well. So please share while I'm sharing. Um, I'm gonna hold on one second. Uh, get down the line here. I told people I would invite them, and then we're gonna have some guests that may be in the comments as well, come in as guests at the end of the show. Okay. Everybody who's here, who is here now? Mind you, y'all, I can't really see that well. Those that don't know, side effect for taking gabapentin. Um, hey, Russell, I hope you stay in at 7 o'clock. Uh, please share, please share, please share. This is some good info, good info. Get your notes and pens, come on in. Um, those who want to support me as a host and support the things that I do have a GoFundMe. You can look in the link below, um, and it will tell all the details. Let me turn around to say hi. I want to say hi. I'm right here. So TikTok, no, this is my original content. I'm right here. Uh-huh. Yes, I am. Because they try to tell me it's not my original content. It is my original content. This is educational purpose only for tonight on PTSD. How many of y'all have family member that has been diagnosed with that, or someone that you know dearly? Bring them in or share it. Let them come in and listen to what I have found that everyone should listen to, right? All right, let me get myself set up here. So every Wednesday is Pamper Day for me, but in the evening I'm trying to find some good news. We got all this bad stuff that's out there. I decided I wanted to play some good and educational type of stuff, so we could be educated, entertained, relax, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, let me find, get set up. That's why I decided to do certain subjects here. Y'all could go to my YouTube channel. It's Rachel Pope, the number 7 that you see up in the corner up there. It's in my link tree. You can find that. And when you do, you can always come to my playlist and look for good news, and you can see the previous shows that I've done before. Okay? And we got people coming in, people coming in. Alright, I think I might play 3 videos. first off, let's see. One video is 20 minutes, and the other one is 18, and this one here is 20. What is it, 18 minutes or so? All right, y'all ready? Get your paper, pen. Please invite. Please share.
I was in the United States. My name is Warren. I was in the United States Marine Corps.
Let me know you're here.
I was in the Marine Corps January 11th, 72. And I got out in 74. I was short, so I became a tunnel rat. That meant I had to go underground to see what the Vietcong there. Plus we took over villages and stuff, you know. It was war. When I came back, years and years I walked around. Don't know why I was having these dreams. Finding myself outside my house, in the yard, pouring down raining, like I was still in the war. Sweating. Oh, clammy hands. I didn't know what it was. I got on drugs. I drunk myself a lot because I didn't want to go to sleep. Because the dreams would get worse and worse. And it took me a long while, you know, to look for help. I went to the VA and I finally got me a primary doctor. Then they finally gave me a therapist. Worked for me, sent me to Coachville Hospital. I stayed there for a couple months, you know, for the drinking and the drugging. And I've been with my therapist almost over 6 years. He talked to you, diagnosis about how far PTSD you is. And I was on the ragged end, okay? And slowly but surely, he would diagnose me about, all right, you gotta do this, start doing this. You gotta start riding on buses again. You gotta start if you go to the cemetery, I did all that. Walk at night. Start playing ball again. He taught me how to face PTSD. Because if you don't face it, it'll destroy you. And I wasn't doing nothing but killing myself. But by him teaching me how to face it, you know what I mean? Gave me the right tools. Without him, I don't think I would make it. You gotta help yourself. That's what it's all about. Helping yourself. You never get rid of PTSD. But you never get rid of it. But you know how to handle it. You know how to face it. You let it know that, hey, I'm not afraid no more. You know what I mean? The sweats, the dreams, no more sweats. No more end up outside, pouring down raining. No drinking, no drugging. Like I said, you reborn all over again. Don't be hard-headed. Oh, I'm a Marine. I can overcome everything. You're a human being. If you got the help at the VA, you're a veteran, go do this. Go get help. You fought for this country. Why can't this country do something for you?
That's true. Then you got a lot of them that put out on the street because they.
Lisa, remind me the Breakthrough Life Coach. Today we're going to be talking about.
Okay, hold on.
Lisa, remind me the Breakthrough Life Coach. Today we're going to be talking about the brain and narcissistic abuse. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we understand that chronic stress changes the brain. And chronic stress alters our ability to regulate our emotions, and we should care because our emotions and the way we respond to our emotions is tied to our ability to experience happiness. The ability for us to manage our emotions is tied to our ability to manifest wonderful careers. The ability to manage our emotions and regulate our emotions and our responses to stressors, we have to be concerned about it. Because if we aren't able to regulate our emotions, How do we attract healthy people into our lives? How do we maintain relationships once we've attracted them? How do we have healthy office experiences with coworkers? How do we experience abundant health if we don't know how to regulate our emotions, which are tied to the endocrine system, which is all about our hormones? Cortisol is related to inflammation. If there is a dysregulation in our ability to regulate our emotion, and there's a decrease in cortisol in the body, let's say, and there's some inflammatory process that the body needs to take care of, it won't be able to take care of it, right? And so it's really important that we understand that everything in life is going to be associated with, or should be tied to, our understanding, at least in my humble opinion, of the importance of understanding the body's stress response. We are an organism, and the organism that we are is responding to our environment. It's responding to temperature. It's responding to humidity. It's responding to the people that are in our environment. The organism that we are is constantly responding to external stimuli, but we are also responding to internal stimuli. Stimuli that has been downloaded via the hippocampus, shunted to the cortex, and stored for long-term memory. We have somatic memory. Our body is keeping a score of what has happened to us. And all day, every day, we are being bombarded by stimuli from the outside as well as the inside. There's a lot to being a human being. Now, if you're somebody who never experienced trauma and didn't have narcissistic or alcoholic, borderline, schizophrenic, whatever parents, right? If you had parents who could regulate their emotions and nurtured you accordingly, right? You would not have such heavy somatic experiences, or heavy bodily memories, or heavy energies, or blocks in your chakra system. You wouldn't be so dense and heavy. But those of us who have been exposed to narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse, right? Many of us have experienced gender abuse, right? Our parents wanted a girl and we're a boy, or vice versa. You get the picture. Those of us who have experienced some type of an abuse, especially by a caretaker or someone who's supposed to love us, we have been downloaded with specific information, and our brains have been programmed to respond to stress in a specific way. Those of us who have been consistently over time exposed to chronic stress can experience a dysregulation in our response system. So imagine, and that's not our fault, but imagine you're a car. Just for a minute, you're a car. And you are in a warehouse, and you are being put together. And in this particular warehouse, there's a box of bolts come in, and the bolts are dysfunctional. They're not appropriate. There's something wrong with these bolts. And the person on the assembly line is screwing the wheel well into the frame that is your car with these, faulty bolts. You eventually have the seat put in, the steering wheel put in, the gas tank put in, and you're sent out on your way, and somebody comes and buys you off a showroom floor, drives you out of the showroom, clink, 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 and you're not sounding correctly. What the person behind the wheel does is says, wow, there's something wrong with my car. Let's investigate. We take it to a mechanic, and the proper mechanic discovers it's really not the car or the essence of the car, it's this bolt. And it's the same thing with us. When we are clunk, and we're blowing gaskets, it's not us. There's something wrong with what happened to us, and that's what we need to investigate, and that's what we need to understand. So we're talking about enlightenment. We're talking about the mind being able to observe the mind. We're talking about spiritual awakening. We're talking about coming out of subconscious programming. We're talking about becoming the observer self and finding this space. And from that space, tapping into the observer self and observing what happened to us that has caused us to continually get stuck in this reactive behavior. If we can understand that stress affects the brain circuitry, and our ability to keep ourselves calm under duress, equanimity under duress, if we understand that our experiences from the outside affect how we show up in our day-to-day lives, how we react to other people, how we react to situations that we can't control, how we react to other people's perceptions of us, our ability to maintain homeostasis, which is essentially our ability to ground ourselves, right, and to honor ourselves, and like I say, hold on to the self, is very much tied to our stress response. It's important that we think about the stress response like we would the radiator in a car, right? And so the ability for our car not to blow a gasket relies heavily on how we maintain our car. But if we start to overheat, then we understand we need antifreeze. There could be a problem with the fan belt, right? The cooling system.
Thank you, Wayne.
So our stress response system is sort of like our cooling system. It's a system that has been designed by Creator that allows us to experience a sense of peace, a sense of grounding. And so if you're somebody who is hyper aroused, who is hyper vigilant, whose amygdala is highly stimulated, if you're somebody who is highly reactive, you're suffering from anxiety, if you're somebody who responds to stress a lot more than someone else would, you're not crazy if you've been narcissistically abused throughout childhood and/or you've had a really bad experience with a classic narcissist and you are suddenly hyper aroused. So it's important that we understand that stress affects the brain and our ability to keep ourselves cool and not blow gaskets. So narcissistic abuse, we can experience PTSD from narcissistic abuse. And PTSD is classically characterized by intrusive thoughts, hyperarousal, flashbacks, memory problems, disturbance with sleep patterns, changes in memory, concentration, and hyperactivity in the startle response. That's just to get started. So stress results in acute and chronic changes in the brain structure and brain function, specifically brain circuits involved in the stress response. So stress response is what is regulating our behavior, blah, 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 and understanding the system, the responsible for how we handle, let's say, an intrusive mother-in-law or a narcissistic boss, for instance, is no difference than learning how to understand how to change a flat tire. We're looking to understand the self. We're looking to expand the mind and understand the way our brain works so that we can understand our behavior. How many of us have a particular behavior or response or show up in life and don't like the way we're showing up? How many of us are reacting to everything that someone says and we don't want to? How many moms and dads out there are yelling at their kids and can hear themselves saying, stop and stop, but we can't stop? I know that was me. There were so many times where I'd be in this state of reactivity and I had some weird awareness that I didn't want to do or say what I was doing, but I had no control over what I was saying or doing. And then you know what would happen? Eventually when the dust settled, I felt guilt and shame. I didn't realize that I had no other tools in the shed, that my brain had no programming for doing or being any different than what I was. So PTSD related to narcissistic abuse can impact the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is part of the limbic brain, and the hippocampus is involved with memory. So many trauma survivors have issues with memory. It's not our fault. Trauma is also related to a smaller hippocampus than is normal. Now, the reason this is significant is because if we don't have a decent amount of hippocampal volume, then we have decreased circuits in the area of our brain responsible for memory. So PTSD survivors have difficulty with memory. This is a problem because the body can react to the somatic memory, right? Remember that trauma is related to not only what happened in the now, but what happened in the past. And then our body has this somatic experience tied to the trauma. Very, very important that we understand that the hippocampus, it will be difficult for our hippocampus to tell the difference between context. So what happened in the past versus what is happening in the now. PTSD can impact the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is involved with memory. This is a huge problem because the body can react to a somatic memory while the mind is unable to understand the difference between what happened in the past and what's happening now. So we have a problem with context. When we have a hippocampus that is smaller in volume, our mind has difficulty separating what happened 10 years ago or last week from what is happening today in our office. So our context is skewed, but we don't know that. It's important. This is why it's so important to become awakened and to understand the concept of observing the mind from a higher state of awareness. Also, the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, when there's decreased volume there, this is the region of the brain that helps regulate our emotional reactions that are triggered in the amygdala. It helps regulate fear and our reaction to fearful stimuli. And people with PTSD have increased anxiety and increased stress response to stimuli. So when this area of the brain is smaller, it has less circuits. So it's important that we recognize that PTSD related to living with a narcissist can impact our ability to regulate our emotions. If you have been so unfortunate to be impacted by a narcissist, you have grown up walking around on eggshells. You have never felt good enough. You have had your memories screwed with. You don't trust your internal dialogue. You don't trust your somatic experiences. You don't trust your visceral experiences. You don't trust your internal guidance system. You are being asked to deny what you think and what you feel. You are being cheated on and being told that it's your fault. You are being lied to on Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon you're being told that the conversation that you had didn't even exist, right? You have brain fog. You're unable to hold on to anything concrete. This is traumatic. When you're having your psychological self chopped up into tiny little pieces by somebody who has managed to get into your heart space, this is debilitating. When we're thinking about children born to abusive and narcissistic parents who have never felt attuned to, who have never felt safe, and it's also very important that we understand that the more powerless we feel at the time of a traumatic event, the deeper that trauma becomes and the more traumatic that trauma actually is. Mm-hmm. So you can be traumatized at 6 months old or 3 months old. You can be so traumatized, even as a grown-ass woman, being pulled away from your family, pulled away from your friends, feeling isolated from family and friends, not being permitted to go outside the house, not being permitted to find a job, not being permitted to go grocery shopping unless somebody is with you. Heinous acts that can be committed on a human being, just horrible, horrible stuff. So in situations where you feel absolutely powerless, if you're 15 years old and you're living with a parent who's abusing you, this is a powerless, powerless feeling. The more powerless we feel when we are affected by a traumatic event, the more traumatic this event is to us, the more damaging this event is to us. But there is good news. There is good news. For anybody that is actually living with a narcissist, it's a tough go. Mm-hmm. It's really, really tough. It's terrible if you feel dependent on somebody. But I would say to you that try to control what you can. Get as smart as you can and don't tell anybody, study when no one else is around. Study when no one else is looking. Science has proven that when you get into a learning mode, you reduce anxiety in your body, you can actually increase hippocampal volume. You want to increase your ability to learn. Without memory, you cannot learn. So not learning is going to keep you stuck. Your brain can only do, your mind can only do what has been taught to do. So you need new tools. So anybody stuck in a harrowing situation, find ways to take care of yourself and don't tell anybody. If that means that you're eating better, eat better. Just don't tell anybody. If that means you're exercising in your bedroom and you're not telling anybody, exercise. Do your push-ups, do your leg lifts. Like, I'm not kidding. Exercise. This will help you discharge some glucose. It'll help you regulate yourself. Do some mindful meditations. Go to bed early. Do some meditations. Journal. Don't tell anybody. find ways to build yourself from the inside up. And when you're dealing with a narcissist and you live with a narcissist, your independence is a threat. My suggestion is to become as independent as possible without letting anybody know you're on this path. Because the minute somebody who is dominant, and narcissism is about dominant behavior, the minute somebody who has dominant behavior begins to get wind that you are becoming more independent, that's when things get even rockier. You've got to be very, very careful in this situation. Empower yourself. Do all you can to become as smart as you possibly can, and build yourself up until you are strong enough to make a move, right? Be very, very careful. Build up your social contacts if and when you can. When you're dealing with a violent narcissist, let's say, or pathological narcissist, a malignant narcissist, you have to be very, very careful. You have to plan. You can't just, do things suddenly. In some cases, I've had letters from people who said, I just left in the middle of the night. I got my passport, I took off, with the shoes on my feet, the shirt on my back, got on a plane and never looked back, changed my name, I'm living in a different country. Sometimes it's that bad. That's for that situation. But it's important for us who have survived narcissistic abuse, who are dealing with post-traumatic stress, that we understand the stress response, that we understand what has affected our ability to maintain equanimity. If we are highly reactive, there's a reason. If we're highly aroused, there's a reason. If we're reacting to everything in the environment, there's a reason, and that's not our fault. The good news is that we can increase hippocampal volume. The hippocampus has shown amazing evidence of regeneration. How do we do that? You learn, you get yourself into a learning mode, you study something. Anything that you begin to study and you begin to master is going to help you increase your hippocampal volume. It's so important. And I really do believe that this is where we are moving when it comes to PTSD recovery. We're moving in a direction of understanding that the hippocampus is involved when it comes to memory and flashbacks, and that when there's a decreased volume in the hippocampus and other areas of the brain where there should be more volume in these areas of the brain, that we're going to have a problem processing memories, both past and current. So we're going to end up having something happen in the now that is very similar to something that happened in the past. We're going to get flooded with visceral memories, and our hippocampus is going to have a difficult time keeping things in context. That's why so many of us react to something in the moment, and some of our friends will go, why'd you react that way? Like, all she said was, where'd you get those shoes, I know what she really meant. She meant this. No, I just meant, where'd you get those shoes? So this is not our fault. There is help. There is help. And the more we understand the self, the better. So I just hope that this talk about PTSD related to narcissistic abuse has encouraged you and has gotten you a little bit more curious about the self, a little bit more aware of the importance of expanding the mind, a little bit more aware of the power and control that you have right now at your fingertips. I hope it's given you some direction. I hope that it's helped you love yourself a little bit more and have much more self-compassion, because those of us who are in a heightened state of arousal, our amygdala is highly sensitive. It's not our fault. If we've experienced attachment trauma, if we've experienced PTSD, if we've experienced sexual abuse, narcissistic abuse by parents, if our homes are unpredictable, it's really not our fault. But that doesn't excuse us. Just because it wasn't our fault doesn't mean that we don't owe it to ourselves and to our families and to society and to our brothers and sisters to become more well-balanced and more well-grounded human beings. The more grounded that we can become, the better it is, not only for us, but the better it is for everybody. If our vibrations are low, the more we understand the self, the higher our vibrations can become, and the more peace we can have in our bodies, and the more our bodies will heal, and the more love and light we bring to the planet. So I just hope that this talk has been beneficial to you. And as always, I wish to bow to the absolute love and light that is in you. Namaste. Bye for now.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next.
My name is Warren. I was in the United States Marine Corps.
Video, and this is pertaining to relationships. Let's see which one.
People who had a traumatic childhood can be People who had a traumatic childhood can be very difficult to be in a relationship or marriage with. I get a lot of letters from hurt, scared people who are going through a lot of pain because their partner has CPTSD and is not yet able to calm their symptoms. Now, do I think people with CPTSD are always worth being with? No, not always. But great relationships are possible when you both understand what CPTSD is and you're both working on strategies to halt the hurtful and chaotic dynamics that can very easily pull couples into a dark vortex. With knowledge and goodwill, healing can be totally positive for both people. And can I just say this to the people who do choose to love people with CPTSD? I love you for this. I'm grateful to those of you who care enough to ask how to be a good partner to those of us who are affected by hard stuff in childhood. A loving and stable relationship goes a long way to help heal human beings who are hurt and feeling alone. So thank you for that. All right. I first just want to acknowledge that the symptoms of childhood PTSD are on a continuum. They come and go. They might be little things, and they could be very serious things. And before I get into the nuts and bolts of how to be with someone who's having these symptoms, I just want to say, under no circumstances should you put up with abuse. And I'll get into that a little more at the end. But yes, people who had a hard childhood are totally worthy and lovable and can be worth a bit of trouble sometimes. And yes, we can be complicated and confusing and needy and exasperated sometimes, but also wise and capable and warm. So here are some tips to help you understand your loved one and offer support while also taking care of yourself, because there is no good relationship where people don't take care of themselves. So first of all, it may be helpful to know that a lot of what your partner is dealing with is called dysregulation. This is a real and measurable nervous system phenomena that can cause a person to feel, spaced out, discombobulated, emotionally overreactive, you've probably seen that, and struggling to think straight. And you're like, Dysregulation happens to everybody to some degree sometimes, and we all naturally recover from it eventually. And this recovered state is called re-regulation or self-regulation. Now, self-regulation is often used in the context of emotional dysregulation, which is one piece of the pie, emotional. But nervous system dysregulation is not just emotions, it's the endocrine system, it's the immune system, it's blood flow, it's the vital signs. There's a lot of things that are really not under a person's control directly, but they can be calmed using techniques. So the recovered state, it's called re-regulation. And the thing about, for people who have PTSD from childhood, getting dysregulated can happen a lot more frequently. It can be a lot harder to climb back out of. And so a person who had trauma compared to somebody who doesn't, the traumatized person is probably spending more time dysregulated and having a harder time climbing back out of it. And it's during those dysregulated times that the problems can really get in. Now, it's important to remember the tendency to get dysregulated is not your partner's fault, and it isn't your fault, even if your partner thinks it's your fault when they're upset. Now, everybody does that sometimes, right? We blame other people, but the symptoms you're seeing are just what PTSD looks like when it's not very well under control. And technically, how you deal with your partner's dysregulation could influence how quickly they can get re-regulated. If you just start yelling or threatening to leave, you're not likely to calm things down. So unless you mean it, unless that's really what you want, I'd recommend don't make threats. Don't do things that increase the drama. It just doesn't help. You don't have to be a doormat either. So it's important for you to remember, even if your partner can't see it in the moment, that it's not your fault that their feelings got this intense, and you're not responsible for making it better right now. It's not your fault, and it's not your job. It's the person who has PTSD. It's our job. We've got to learn to re-regulate. We have to. Nobody can regulate our PTSD brains for us. We're the ones who've got to take steps to change it. And we're the ones who have the option of self-control. We also have the option to leave if somebody is just so, destructive to us that we cannot self-regulate. That's where people get into like a no-contact relationship with an ex or perhaps a family member. So as hard as it may be to draw upon when you're feeling the urge to lash out or run away from loved ones, the inner resources are there to calm your symptoms. It's not the fault of the person with CPTSD, but we are the ones who can make the change in here. Okay, that said, here's what you can do. You can support your partner as they try to heal, as they learn to re-regulate. You can ask or suggest that they try to heal. You can suggest they read a certain book or try a certain technique, but you cannot make it happen. Not on your timeline, not against their will, and you can't do it for them. If only you could, right? I get a lot of mails and comments from people who are like, how do I make someone heal? And you can't, but you can offer support and you can suggest things lightly, but you must remember what is needed is understanding, encouragement, and then being willing to step back and detach a little to allow people to make their own decisions and find their own answers. It's genuinely the truth that no one person really knows what another person needs. And I sit here and I teach about this stuff every day of my life, but I never presume to know what another person needs. And so when you do that to a partner, you know what happens. They don't like it, they will pull away, they will shut down. It could delay things for them. And you might notice that when your partner is dysregulated, they can go from happy and goofy to overwhelmed and enraged, and then to emotional flatness, like nothing ever happened, all without you ever realizing what set this off. And sometimes they'll be dysregulated without any outward signs. They seem fine, they say they're fine, but then you notice they're not hearing a word you say, or they're tripping over things, or forgetting to show up for appointments. With some people, this brain fog aspect of dysregulation can be really pervasive, and it'll be tempting for you to think they're acting this way intentionally to show you that you're not important to them, or they don't respect you, or you might try to force them to go see an ADHD specialist and take medication. But hold on, because while all of this could be the case, it's most likely just a sign that they're dysregulated. And believe me, I'm telling people like your partner that dysregulation is not an excuse to be rude or inconsiderate. Right. Healing while you're in a couple means two people meeting halfway, and your partner may need to make the effort to show you that they care. And you need to keep in mind that a brain thing might be temporarily blocking the signs of caring that you need to see. Like the emotion is there, but you can't see it on the face. So that's one thing. But maybe the hardest thing about a person with childhood PTSD is that they can be unreasonable. They get upset and you get blamed for things that you have nothing to do with. And I'll tell you a secret. If you keep presenting yourself as someone who has power to fix the PTSD, who has the answers, you will soon be having fights about why you haven't fixed it yet. And I'm going to bet you've had that argument before, maybe many times, where your partner believes that you have the key, because you sort of presented yourself that way, for them feeling better if only you would turn the key. But you won't, because you're so mean, right? That's a way of thinking that I call outsourcing responsibility for healing. And I tell people with childhood PTSD to step out of that thinking and own the process. You know, I know, like, we're all at the effect of other people. Other people affect us very much, of course, but we must own the process of our healing and changing how we behave. And I'm telling you, as their partner,
This is not going to take long, so we're going to have people to come up as guests to speak if they like.
Let them own it. It's totally okay and appropriate to offer comfort to a person who's in a PTSD response, and consistent love and stability are good things and definitely influence healing. But sometimes what love looks like, if you support a person and give them space to just, day by day, notice how their PTSD symptoms affect them, and let them recalibrate their response. That's what healing can look like. Maybe they're already in my courses for doing this, and that's how you heard about me. You can support your partner while they do the work and still hold a boundary against yucky behavior or abusive behavior that happens when they're dysregulated. So the way to do that is when you notice the symptoms coming on in your partner and they're starting to behave in ways that are making you feel scared or upset, you can take a step back. Your feelings matter. They matter a lot. You are half of this. But your partner who's having CPTSD symptoms right now, this is not a good time to try to talk things out with them or get what you need. You'll get much better results if you wait. And if they're pressing you to talk about their feelings, and we do that sometimes, then say, things are feeling a little intense right now, and I want to talk to you, but I want to wait until things are calmer. Now notice you're not abandoning them. That's a trigger you don't want to set off unintentionally. You're not shutting them down. You're making a plan to communicate in a better way. And if your partner doesn't want to let you do that, you get to do it anyway. Now remember, they're not themselves right now, so it's for you to do the wise thing for yourself. And remember, they will eventually feel calmer, and you can talk then. So what's helped me in my marriage, since I'm the one who gets dysregulated, is that I try to take responsibility to notice when I'm dysregulated, not say much until I can get myself re-regulated. And this is sometimes easier said than done. And the urge to, process the feelings sometimes is overpowering. Now, by process, I mean like talk, and you said this, and you said that, and even when I mask it as I statements, I felt horrible because you were just such a dick. It doesn't, dysregulated talk, it's like drunk talk. Think of it that way, I even tell people, when you're dysregulated, do not drive a car, pull over. If you can't remember, if you're having like blankouts about how you got across the bridge, stop and re-regulate. And that's what I teach. I teach tools to re-regulate quickly, and then also long-term strategies to stay regulated more of the time. But you don't try to have a big major conversation about what's happening or to try to break down some horrible argument that you had while a person is dysregulated. If you really want to have communication, maintaining regulation is everything. It's everything. And so the person with CPTSD, that's the first order of business, is to learn how to do that, how to go slowly enough and gently enough that they can kind of stay lucid and in their body enough to talk about how they're feeling and not have this big emotional flashback come and take over, believing you're just the worst thing, and you've probably been in that position, where they're just like blowing flame at you. And it's destructive for people with CPTSD to get into that blame place, because so long as we are blaming other people for how we feel, we can't recover. You're just trying to it's like, help me, fix me. Well, other people cannot. Right. It explains so much once you understand that. It's like, oh, they can't. There's things that other people can do to support you. But until a person with CPTSD realizes what an inside job this is to self-regulate, there's going to be so much conflict with partners, so much conflict. So that little codependent dynamic of like, I'm going to help you, honey, I'm going to help you, it can be too much. But support is real. There is a way to support, and it's just like to do your part to keep it from going down that road of yelling, fixing, blaming. All right? So you're using restraint on that side. The person with CPTSD is working on restraint as well and using tools, because ultimately none of us has a license to take out our frustrations on other people. And not even because some of us had bad things happen when we were small that affected us neurologically. It's not a license. It may be an explanation, but it's not an excuse. So here's a summary of things that you can do when your partner is experiencing symptoms. First, you can notice the dysregulation. Sometimes even if you don't say anything, just noting it to yourself, oh gosh, they're dysregulated again. And this can help you stay neutral and even supportive without getting sucked into the drama. Second, you can try to...
I'm retired Chief Patrol Agent Chris Clem. In my over 27 years as a Border Patrol agent,
we're almost there, so get ready to come on up.
We're facing the worst border crisis in the history of our country. And that's why I've partnered with Americans for Prosperity. Washington think tanks talk. Politicians play political football. But Americans for Prosperity is actually doing something about the crisis. AFP has taken hundreds of concerned citizens to the border to see it for themselves.
Reduce overwhelm for your partner by slowing down, keeping, and not asking a lot of questions or making demands. And not asking a lot of questions or making demands. No chance that you notice and you can say, hey, this is making me a bit overwhelmed.
It's easier. Turn your microphone off, Amira.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Okay. Would it help if I gave you a hug right now? Because squeezing hugs can be really helpful, but you want to make sure it's wanted and expected. For a lot of people, a hug, especially out of the blue, it can set off more, it just triggers something. And so you don't want to set off more dysregulation because it can feel constricting, it can feel threatening, it can feel controlling. But at the right time, a squeezing hug can be so comforting to the nervous system. So timing. Then, if things start getting tense, it can help if you get a little space or a tiny bit of separation. And the trick is to do this without setting off an abandonment trigger. So let's say you're on the phone and you can hear your partner getting wound up. It's about to turn into an argument. You can say, I need 5 minutes apart, and make a concrete plan for when you're going to call them back. And that just 5-minute break can allow both of you to discharge the dysregulation and the anger that was bubbling up. If your partner uses my daily practice techniques of writing and meditating, yes, you can very politely, gently suggest, not demand, that they might want to do that. Or you can do it. You can do the daily practice. It's for everyone, and you can invite them to do it with you. But since any kind of comment about dysregulation nobody wants to be told what to do, but when a person is in a state of dysregulation, getting called out on it it can feel like criticism. Sometimes the kindest thing is to tell a white lie and pretend that you have to go to the bathroom just to get a few minutes apart. Whatever you do, don't resort to giving the silent treatment or storming out or threatening the relationship. Even if you know that you're actually going to leave, which you probably aren't, but even if you are, if that's what you know, announcing it to a dysregulated person is only going to lead to a blow up. So my advice is stay polite, stay kind, stay out of the drama, let the storm pass. Your partner might complain and try to get the conversation started again, but believe me, they will thank you later when their brain and emotions are re-regulated that you stayed calm and sturdy and didn't let things turn into a big fight. Well, people don't always thank you later, but they would if they could see the big picture of the fight that was just averted. Mm-hmm. Everyone is exhausted after a fight, and arguing can cost a person with childhood PTSD days of dysregulation where they're only quasi-functioning. It can cause people to, forego great opportunities. It can cause them to abandon things that are totally worthwhile. So calm is good. Steadiness is good. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that there is no scenario where you are obliged to put up with abuse, neither at the doormat level or all-out abuse. Not emotional, not physical. So I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I don't care who started the argument. You don't deserve abuse. And if it happens, the right thing to do is to remove yourself with kids, if there are kids, and get to safety. Anything that needs to be worked out can be worked out when things are calmer. And that would be the time to pursue professional help for both of you, for yourself. But for you, if your partner can't or won't control abusive behavior, then it's very sad, but it's not best for you or your kids to be trapped like that. Okay, all that said, if you are blessed enough to have a safe, loving, and supportive relationship, that is just one of the most wonderful healing things that could happen for anyone. And it's a great gift for a person who had trauma as a kid. Not everybody is called to that kind of relationship, and some people are not healed enough yet to pull it off right now. But a good relationship is worth really putting your heart into. It's a good reason to work hard on yourself as a person. If you're a single person with CPTSD who longs for a relationship, keep working on your symptoms. You can become ready for a closer, more safe and stable relationship that's fulfilling for you. If you're with the person with CPTSD, there is hope, so long as someone will cooperate with you to start calming the symptoms. So again, my love and appreciation to all of the partners out there who have given that to us and who make the world a loving place for us because of it.
Okay. All right, Amira, you can come up to the mic while I find some soft music going in the background. My God, that was a lot. I even learned even more about myself as a child. Let me turn this down. Shop more deals in store and online. Turn it down.
Okay.
Bring in
Is
the
it
people.
okay now?
Where they at?
Hello,
Amir, you
it's
up here?
Amira. Can you
Is
hear me?
Wayne there?
Wayne
Yeah,
is here.
I'm
He's on this on the Long COVID Association.
Okay.
So my person who has more understanding of PTSD is here to answer, from a male perspective, some things.
Yeah. What did he have to say, Wayne?
Yeah.
What did you have to say based on the video that you just watched?
Oh, I think a lot of that is true, but before a person that's got PTSD or CPTSD can ever, if they're in dysregulation, the only way that they're going to come out of it is not through osmosis. I really don't agree with that.
Okay.
They need to be around someone that they trust, is not going to conclude that they're crazy, is not going to make any judgment. They're just going to listen so that they can offload all of that stinky stuff that's inside their brain and put it out there on the table to sort through. And I had the benefit of having a very good friend of mine, Bob, who is now passed, but he would sit and listen to me for hours, go on and on as I was sorting through the gobbledygook that was in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And just the talking about it freed me of a lot of the strength that it had to dysregulate me. Okay? So when a person is going through PTSD, they have to seek out, there's got to be one person in life that you trust, that's just going to listen to you, not pass any judgment, and really just let you get it all out,
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that you want to have a person that you can talk to is telling another human being about this crazy stuff that's going on in your brain, okay, and has been just playing over and over and over again. Having this person listen and having another human being hear the secrets that you were keeping from everybody, because if you talked about some of the stuff that was going on in your brain, people would obviously conclude that, okay, this person's crazy, he's about he's going to go off, but it's not about that. I had this one person in my life that I trusted, had been through a similar situation, and without any judgment just listened, and every time I'd start really going off on a tangent or whatever, they'd ask me some gentle questions like, well, what did you mean by this? Or what's going on with you about that? To get me back on the path of sorting and sifting through all this garbage I had in my head. Because having this garbage in your head and not out of your head just stews and simmers, and all kinds of distortions happen, and you jump to conclusions about people that are way, way off, and you end up, like she was saying, in this dysregulation where you're not trusting your eyes, your ears, even your own visceral feelings, because you don't know, you're in a state of unconsciousness. You know what I mean? You're just walking around and functioning, but that's it. I mean, you're not a thinking, feeling human being. You're just reacting to stimuli, And once you tell somebody about, as crazy as it sounds, all of this stuff that's going on in your head, just having another human being hear it frees you of the secret. There's some support groups out there. You're only as sick as your secrets, and I know that to be true. If you keep these things that are in your brain, these conclusions that you're drawing, and they just stack up and stack up and stack up. After a while, you can't tell the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So, talking to Bob, and sometimes he would sit there on weekends and listen to me for hours, 5, 6 hours, and he'd have to take breaks. He says, "Okay, listen, man, I'm at my limit today. Why don't we take it up tomorrow?" I'd say, "Okay." And I said, "Okay," because it was so freeing being able to get all that stuff out of me. And just hearing it would do a lot of the sifting for me. As I said it, it just seemed so stupid to me that, oh, no, I can't conclude that. But it wasn't until I actually spoke it and told somebody about this crazy stuff that I was thinking that it lost its power.
Right.
And if you can do that much so that you can come back to what she was talking about, a state of regulation, a state of calm, be able to trust your feelings, be able to trust your perception, what you're hearing, what you see, be able to trust that perception again, then you can go down the road to healing. But as long as that stuff is stuck in your brain and nobody else knows about it, as long as it's stuck there, it's just going to get more and more distorted. You're gonna ignore all of the things that you should be paying attention to, and just, I was so preoccupied at the beginning of this marriage when I was just dating my wife that I was incapable of loving. Okay. Right. And she would sit for hours and just listen to me go on and on about this one or two individuals that had wronged me, that had caused the trauma. And the trauma, by the way, was a repetitive pattern that was happening with different people throughout my life. And I was attracting these people over and over again. I was getting very frustrated. What am I doing to cause these people to come into my life? Okay.
Right.
And again, he wouldn't, my wife and my friend Bob never jumped to any conclusion, never suggested what I was saying was wrong or whatever. Just go, okay, go on, I'm listening. Go on, I'm listening. After a while, I would say to Bob, you know what? I can't even believe that I was thinking that. Now that I've said it, it just seems so stupid, so off the mark. He goes, yeah. He says, so when you confide in another human being, hey, this is what I'm thinking, or this is what I'm seeing, and the person goes, well, what do you think? Well, now that I said it, sounds pretty stupid, Well, it's not stupid, but you were thinking it, weren't you? And I said, yeah. But now, what do you think? That type of questioning just brought me out of it, out of that dysregulation. And truly, if you have one individual, doesn't have to be a licensed professional, but one person that is going to honor two things. They're just going to listen, and they're not going to ask any or make statements that would be considered judgmental. If anybody's going to judge, Bob used to say this thing to me. He says, I'm never going to give you advice, because that does one of two things. If I'm right, then you're wrong. If you're right, then I'm wrong, and you shouldn't trust me, right? So he didn't give any advice, and he goes, and I'm not going to pass any judgment. He goes, you haven't been with me through my life, but I don't feel that I'm in any position to judge any other human being. I'm as human as the next guy, And put in the same situation, he would probably come to the same conclusions. He said that over and over again to me. And just having that one person listen to you and kind of guide you along through that processing, where you're sifting and sorting the information, all the memories, what is a memory, what isn't a memory, you know, it gets so distorted after a while. Sometimes your mind makes up things. I mean, like I swore up and down that my father-in-law and my dad had got into an argument that was pretty near a fist fight. And I brought it up in the course of a tiff I was having with my wife, and she goes, Wayne, that never happened. And I went back and checked with my father. It didn't happen.
Oh,
He was like, I don't
wow.
know what's going on with you, son, but that didn't happen. And I was like, really? And it was just so real to me. But that's what I'm talking about. By talking about openly what's going on in your head,
Yeah.
you're able to sift and sort what is and what is not. You know, because the mind distorts things to a point where it gives you an excuse to be upset. And I was so afraid that that there was going to be an argument between my father and my father-in-law that my mind made it happen, and then told me it was a memory,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. It wasn't. It really frightened me, but now that's why I talk so much about, hey man, you got to get that stuff out of your head and look at it and really put it through some tests. You know, my test was telling my wife, hey, remember when this happened? And she goes, no, that didn't happen. And I go back and I called up my dad right on the spot, and I said, didn't this happen between you and Mr. Saleh? And he said, no, I don't know what's going on with you, son, but that never happened.
Confirming.
Yeah. And so I confirmed, okay, this didn't. So that right there, that was proof to me that there was a lot of stuff that was inside my head that was driving me absolutely crazy, that were completely imaginary. And my mind made up these things because it was so afraid, so anticipating that this was going to go wrong, that it made it go wrong. That way I could deal with it. But it was that anticipation, that not knowing, that uncertainty of not knowing whether this was going to happen or wasn't going to happen. My mind just let it happen. And then, you know, the unconscious doesn't know the difference between what a constructed memory or something that actually happened. It just relies on the data that actually happened. And then your unconscious acts accordingly. You know, when you're in that state of dysregulation, you're unconscious. You know, you're in a trance.
Wow.
And you're operating in survival mode in that trance. Okay, to give you an example. When I went through surgery, back surgery, they put me on this stuff as an anesthetic called ketamine. Now, I happen to know, and I had warned these people because I had a DNA pharmacological panel done, that my body overprocesses ketamine to the point where I have hallucination. And when I woke up after surgery with all of the lights and the beeping and everything, I actually saw missiles going off above my head.
Oh, geez.
I actually saw, you know, a nighttime war zone. And I was literally running through post-op with just my gown on and dodging these orderlies. Okay? And what I saw is I saw the enemy coming at me with guns and knives and whatever. And, you know, finally when they got me into a corner, they said, Wayne, you're in post-op. And I said, no, I'm not. We need to go to the rally point, you know, all this stuff. And they're like, no, Wayne. And they'd ask me questions. They were like, Wayne, Colonel who? Colonel who? We'll get him for you. And I said, Colonel, and I couldn't get a name.
Right.
And that's when I was convinced, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff, but it's because my brain is uncertain. That state of anticipation. This is war, danger, you know, and it made it happen in my mind.
That was like, that sounded like the first video of the older gentleman giving his experience of going outside in the rain like it's nothing. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
And
This is some
nobody,
serious stuff.
I felt stripped naked when I told my wife about this thing that was in my head, okay, and saying that happened, and she goes, no, it didn't. And I called my dad, no, son, that didn't happen. Now, my wife might have, in the course of an argument, might have just because she had to be right, could have bluffed me, but my dad had no reason to.
Right.
My dad had no reason to bluff me. And so that was a linchpin for me. And so then I had to go back through all of what was in my head and tag, okay, this didn't happen. That did. This didn't happen. And then once I was able to index everything in my head, then I was able to start feeling again and start responding appropriately to stressful situations. But it wasn't until I did that offloading, and it makes you very vulnerable. It makes you wonder, about how you're going to function in society if your mind comes up with these things. This total self-consciousness. But that what I regarded as a weakness became a superpower for me, because then I was able. That's my mind again distorting things, and after a while, I was able to cope better, and it simultaneously built a support system. I said, did this happen? Am I remembering it correctly? Oh, yeah, that happened, but it didn't happen the way you said, the way you just said. I said, what happened? And they're describing it to me. The memory will come back, and I can compare the two memories and see the difference between, this was imagined, so I tagged that one, and this one actually happened. My whole reality strategy, our programming, we have a filter where we can tell if something actually happened to us, or whether we fantasize or remembered it.
I can barely hear you.
Remembered it with a different slant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And knowing that and going through that experience has made me only stronger. So when we're talking about people that are important to you, Rachel, I really mean it.
Yeah.
This individual, he needs to get somebody and just offload all of the sludge that's in his brain and his mind, and then go through that re-indexing. It's just like a computer. A computer needs to index itself, or then it starts searching slower and maybe just freezes entirely. And it is a perishable position to be in. It only gets worse. It doesn't get better. The things that there are ways that men cope. One is lust, the other is alcohol, even drugs. To kind of take anesthetize the pain. But once the lust wears off, or the chemical wears off in your body, you're back to an even worse situation.
Right.
Because your brain is being taught to function or respond to life in this dysfunctional way, and you can't go through life like that.
Right. Exactly. It reminded me of some of the conversation when he shared his story, but it's how he shared his story. He tells the story backwards, and I had to learn that, because I would be jumping the gun, and I said, hold up, Rachel, just listen to hear all the way out, because every time he always hit me with that that stinger at the end. And I'm like, well, you acting like, but yet the situation, was solved at the end. But he told the story totally in chops,
Yeah.
and then I said, did you know that you told that story backwards? So I had to learn his way of telling the story to me and just wait till he finished.
No,
And I had to put it together in my head, right?
that's
It's
a
okay.
typical report of a loved one of somebody that's got PTSD. You have to be super tolerant, and just let
Yes.
them offload in whatever way they do, offload that gunk that's in their head that's clogging
Yes.
everything up. Okay,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
the unconscious knows everything. The unconscious knows how to fix it. The unconscious knows what's wrong, and it needs to go through that process of going through unconscious information consciously. Okay,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then it's beneficial to especially a warrior, because now you've got a weapon that nobody else has. Okay,
Yes.
you can figure out what happened and what didn't. A lot of times people remember stuff backwards or distorted just to fulfill to salve that fear of the uncertainty. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
am I in a war zone or not? Am I
Mhm.
am I being shot at or not? Is this
Mhm.
person an enemy? Do I need to do some psyops on them or not? You see what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
And
I do.
and until they do that, they're not going to come out of that trance.
Mhm.
Okay, so literally when he said, "Rachel, just listen," that was his
Yes.
unconscious saying, "Hey, this feels good. Shut up and listen."
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
And
let me do
I
what
ain't
I'm doing.
say
This feels good.
nothing.
This feels better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I noticed there was another video that I did not play.
Mm.
Um, they were discussing concern about um, CPTSD, the complex.
Yeah.
They have a tendency of telling not a lot of lies, but lies to
Yeah.
feel comfortable. Like I think I forgot which lady mentioned it, but they tell a little lie in order to get out of the situation. Like I got to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
get away for a
Yeah.
second, makes a space
Yeah.
between that person and that, or find a way to remove themselves and isolate by telling a little white lie without upsetting the person that's in front of them.
Oh man, that reminds me so much. When this is when I used to go out to bars, a long time ago. I would
Mm-hmm.
uh, want so badly to live this life of a VIP that I'd actually go to a Hyatt Regency in downtown San Antonio and buy everybody drinks and act like I was on some kind of business trip. And people bought it hook, line, and sinker because I was dressed in a suit and all that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And afterwards, I'd be like, how am I going to explain to everybody tomorrow morning at breakfast who I really am, you know?
Oh wow.
So to not deal with it, I'd check out, get in a cab, and just leave. And then months later, I'd come back and do it again when I got a little bit of money. I'd go and
Yeah.
do it again, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, who are you really?" You know, and that's that. People inquiring like that would chip away the BS, and they
Yeah.
go, "Hey, man, what's one woman pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, look, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're displaying what I've seen a lot of soldiers go through after they get out of a war zone is,
Mm-hmm.
they're acting like the big hero or the big business person,
Yeah.
you know, to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
And I mean, because obviously when you come out of a war zone, you've done some things that you're not proud of.
Yes.
You don't even want to talk about. You know, you don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it because it's just so, you know, I'm a human being and I did that. You know, that whole thing comes up and, you know, it's a mess. But you have to sort through, okay, what really happened and what was my side of it? What was their side of it? You know, what were the conditions? You know, all these healthy questions, I call them, to test your perspective of what is reality and what isn't. You know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Because I thought about some of the things that he shared with me and we share with friends and family members. Is I found that some of the family members came at me and said that they did not believe what he said. They
yeah,
didn't believe he went through what he said he went through. And I said, well, I confirmed that. I found out he really did do that. And he did. He was a part of this. I was there to see the blood stain. I was there. I seen it. Hello,
yeah,
he told the truth. You
yeah.
so, what? Why is all this happening to him like this? And I said, I don't know, but this is his journey.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, you know, in my memory banks that I would not share with anybody other than a person that I know for sure had been in a war zone. Because they know how crazy stuff gets.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally seen angels going down range with me, you know, and you know, you kind of ask yourself questions: did that really happen? You know, and it's not
Yeah.
until you get next to somebody that's been through it where they say, "Yeah, I saw the same thing too." You know,
Exactly. Yeah. It confirms.
right? But to
And
Joe
yeah, you
Sixpack,
went crazy.
I would never talk about that kind of stuff. I just wouldn't.
Oh my goodness, because I was sharing when I was talking to my king, and he mentioned about all his friends that was blown up before. I think he shared that with you.
Hmm? Yeah,
And I always wanted him to find anybody that's living during that time period, he could reconnect. He said everybody had died off. They
yeah.
gone.
That's I believe that's why the VFW. You know, you remember those VFW halls
Yes.
in neighborhoods. I think that that's why that was established. So even if everybody you knew was gone, you could talk to somebody that went through exactly the same, if not similar, a situation and be able to just, you know, root it out of your mind uh, and come to terms with it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Hmm. That's a real good idea.
yeah. I don't know why the VFWs are not thriving anymore, but that really
Yeah.
helps people that you know, soldiers that went through World War One, World War Two. That helped them get through it, you know, and then they could heal. But they could only do that with at first a person that they trust and won't judge them, and then in the final analysis, somebody that was on the same ground that you were on and saw and felt the same things that you felt, you know, because you know, war is like, I mean, war is crazy,
That
and
makes you.
I've literally seen good and evil in the air, you know, fighting, and I thought, man, I'm losing my mind, you know.
Right.
But when another warrior turns to you and says, "Hey, man, I see it too," you
Yeah.
know, you start to really believe that, you know, some of the stuff that you hear in church, you really start to believe it because it's raw. You know, I've even had people that were in you know, in the hood, going through war in the hood, right? And they've seen similar things, you know, during shootouts and so on.
Yeah.
Just pretty wild stuff. But it's not until you talk about it that it you know, and reveal the deepest, darkest memories to another human being that you actually get freed, and you can go through that sifting and sorting, and you know, be able to tag what is distortion and what is just a blatant lie that you told yourself, you know. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember something that you said. Oh, you talking about the PFW locations?
Yeah, VFW. Yeah.
I'm supposed to be with my godmother, who is a entertainer, singer.
Yeah.
And she performed at those, and her her husband and her dealt with the musical entertainment. So my whole point of saying this, she introduced me in these places here in Maryland.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I got to see these guys at the bar, and they would have like special events and get together, you know, like a reunion,
Yeah.
you know. And one day she came by and snatched me up and took me to another one, and this, oh, they were all together, shoulder to shoulders in this place here. And it was a small, quaint little thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just like brothers getting together.
Yeah.
Sisters too, you know, but and there was no fighting or nothing like that, you know. People was having a good time, good food and
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
That I got to see, for them to have that, brothers together, reuniting. And it brought me to my memory of when I went home for Christmas. Um, my king got to meet my uncle on my mother's side. He was in Vietnam War, same time as my king. And
Yeah.
they had a lot in common because they hung out at the same, not together, but it was the same location.
Yeah.
And they was speaking certain language of the native that was there at this particular spot. And I was watching the dynamic of brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was special as well. So, maybe I need to reach out to my uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see what kind of conversation come out of that.
Yeah.
Pertaining to this subject right here, PTSD.
Yeah.
And there's some other ones that I put in my YouTube channel on my playlist for those that's listening. You know, go to Rachel Pope #7. That's my YouTube channel. Subscribe. And all the other shows that you missed, they are all listed on my playlist under Good News. So there's some stuff that I download. I haven't played yet, but I'm still doing research. Educational purposes and knowledge that everybody should know, because you never know who you can run into that may possibly have PTSD. I said that right, right?
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you, Wayne and Amira,
I'm here.
for y'all to come in and give your knowledge and share that. You know, you as a survivor, Wayne,
Yeah.
going through this. I ain't expect you to come in that angle, but hey, I appreciate it because I was trying to find survivors
Well,
of
you know,
PTSD.
a lot of the stuff that I just shared, I probably wouldn't have, but
Yes.
I know what kind of, I lived through the hell, you know,
Yeah.
the aftermath, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. What the kind of stuff that you go through, you know,
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that leaves you laying in bed wide awake in the dark.
Yes.
You know, those secrets, it cannot be secrets any longer. They'll make you go crazy.
And this one I found out too, because I thought it was kind of weird, because my king would go to bed ready for action. Like he would have his undergear on, thermals and all that stuff and sock, but he have his shoes laid, same position, and his pants folded and his shirt folded, like to jump in, get ready to go.
Yeah.
And sleep on the edge. So I asked some of my girlfriends who have, married to soldiers, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
You do that too?
I used to. But all that's about is just how far in trance you are. Because if you're in that trauma trance, you're responding to life the way a soldier or a warrior would respond to life,
Yeah.
So you're always ready for, that surprise attack.
Yeah.
You're always ready for whatever, and you cannot not do that, because that's what kept you alive,
Right.
But it's not exactly appropriate in
society.
Here in we like to call it here in civilian life.
In civilian life, right?
Yeah. That doesn't. It's not useful.
Right.
It's not. Matter of fact, it's kind of a bother, because everybody's like, man, what's that guy doing?
Unless you're a fire person.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird because he can see in the dark. He can tell what color the black and blue. I'm like, how can you distinguish what's black? Boy, you walk around like a blind man. You can touch something and know what color it is. Wow, you got a gift. And he be right. So, that was scary to me, but I got used to it.
Yeah, the human mind develops extra sensory perception.
Yeah.
In when you're in that survival and you're just trying to stay alive.
Yes.
You hear 10 times better. You see 10 times better.
Yes.
I got to the point where I could feel somebody within about 100 feet of me.
See there?
Yeah.
So that's why he jumps up and go to the door. Instead of peeping out the peephole, he just go on out there. I'm like, you ever thought about using a peephole before you step out like that? He turn around, don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, okay, I got a really superhero here. Yeah. But yeah, that freaked me out. He just did you hear that? And boom, going out the door. I'm like, wow. Jesus. Okay. That's something I got put down in the books. Okay. We're gonna figure out what that's about. But I did see, I thought the queen was coming back because she was up here when the mirror came on, but because she had a story too.
Did you want to hear about some PTSD from childhood that over his lifetime? He's young. Yeah, overall. Do you want to hear from Bobby?
Bobby?
He can share. Yeah, he's right here. He can share.
I can make it quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, let her answer. You want to hear from?
This is coming from a child standpoint of PTSD, you guys.
Yeah,
autistic standpoint. Video about that.
Autistic standpoint, more or less.
So introduce yourself.
I'm Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
I'm Wayne's son.
Okay.
Bobby. Who came on earlier. So, in my experience with trauma and PTSD, I've dealt with many people. I've dealt with like teachers, police officers, doctors, and I just gotta say, from an autistic standpoint, it feels like what my dad said. It's like, coming out of a war, and like as if I've come out of the Vietnam War, and everything is like I can feel it 10 times more, and it's like scary, and sometimes I actually wish I wasn't autistic, because I get around somebody and I'm like, okay, can I trust this person? Yes, I can trust this person. No, I can't trust this person. You go back and forth in your head and you go, I don't know. And my dad will see that and he'll go, hey, it's okay, son. You can talk to me in your own time. I really want to talk to you, but I'm stuck, That's what I would say. I would say that I'm stuck.
Okay.
And I'm going to start back from elementary school and then work my way up through the years. So when I was in elementary school, I would deal with like this one teacher. It was a guidance counselor, Miss Maroka. She would be like, talking to me, it's okay, Bobby, you don't have to cry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And yell at me. I go, why are you yelling at me? And she'd be like, acting this way towards me. I'm like, why? What did I do? And then I met another teacher who's probably the worst teacher in my life. I gotta say, what was her name?
You don't have to just use her initial.
No, that's okay. I'll say. It's for some reason it's come back to me. Megan Ramirez. I'll just say this. When I go to school and I'd have like dirty clothes, she'd send me, tell me to get undressed and send me with different clothes. Like there was an event before and everybody was in costume and she switched me on my costume into these other clothes and I'd be like, don't I get a say in this? And she'd be like, no, just shut up and do it, And I'd be like, gosh. And I felt, violated as a human being, And my grandfather went through a similar thing in his time over in Palestine, in concentration camps and all that stuff. But anyway, I would go through these things and I would review it in my head over and over. One time I was crying. I was like, no, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I don't know. Stop. And over time, I'd be like at trance and I would say these things. And I was like holding on to real. I was like, Mom, please don't take me to school today. Can I stay home sick? Can they send me homework? Whatever. And then fast forward to like middle school. I was jumped in the bathroom by this kid who was stalking me, going to and fro school, going to and from home, to school and to home, back to school, and he would just watch me. And one day he striked an attack, and he tried to get me to pull my clothes off. His clothes was already off, and he tried to jump all over me. I was like, no, I don't welcome this. I don't consent to this.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was a while before he would even talk about what happened.
Yeah, it was so bad. I was just shocked, I was just...
And imagine when you're on the spectrum, sometimes, as you know, many who are on the autism spectrum, they feel things with far more intensity. So having to try and stay, to know, can I scream here? Can I, they're always having to measure their feelings in the worst situations. And when they speak up, or ask for help, they don't always get the right help, or they're, the way the teachers, some of them would react was just so awful. They never put themselves in the shoes of the kid,
Right.
Whether they're autistic or not.
It's like they go into this training, right? Mm-hmm. This training on how to teach these kids, and then they forget it. Or
Right.
they, like, as I say, they're burnt out. They don't have that spark anymore. They don't have that energy.
Then if you fast forward to high school, what you experienced there? There was some serious,
Tell me about high school. So high school was like hell. And I was around this redheaded guy. Basically, any person that was like mentally ill, I was around them. I was around this one teacher who would talk to the air, and who wouldn't bathe, who wouldn't clean herself, after she went to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And wouldn't change in clothes, so she stank a lot, and she was morbidly obese. And the redheaded guy who had a temper, I think I told you about him. And let's see, and another...
What did the redheaded guy do?
Oh, yeah, he got into... we fell out. He and I got into a big fight, and he beat me till the point I was, like, bleeding from my mouth. I had a black eye, and I just felt every day...
Was he a student, or...?
He was a teacher. I told him. He was a teacher.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And
but parents don't always hear about these things till way later.
Like I said, I was shocked. I was like, I tried to, believe me, I tried to talk to them about it, but the teachers would change the narrative. They would switch it around, saying, no, it must be something at home, is like duress, he's, failing in this part, or doing better in this part, or not doing better enough in this part. So, and then the parents forget about it, and I just felt like, gosh, what did I do to deserve all this? I don't deserve these good things. I don't deserve good parents, a good brother. And then finally, all these teachers were like ganging up on me, and my dad taught me self-defense only if I'm like in trouble to use that. And sure enough, they held me down to the ground, and I used those techniques from what I was taught, and I was like, leave me alone. And one day I was planning this for a while. One day I got up from my seat and I ran away, and they're like, Bobby, Abby, where are you? And this guy, red-haired guy, is calling me a brat. And, where are you? Little punk, little brat. Where are you? Cussing at me, saying all kinds of, basically every ugly thing you could say under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just tough, dealing with that.
Yeah.
Mind you, Bobby was not as vocal about talking about things until
I was afraid to say anything.
He got a little bit older and built up more of his confidence, and also with, helping to heal his gut and work in so many ways, talking.
For me, healing, like the gut and the spirit, they all work together as a team, body, mind, spirit. When you heal the mind, you heal the spirit, you heal the body, they work together.
That's right.
To be balanced, equilibrium. So I said, is there any way we can talk this out without any violence? And of course, he would always respond with a violent thing, yelling, screaming. I saw this one poor kid. He was like pummeling him, pulling him over like he was some dog or something. Like
they have the wrong way of handling kids, who have special needs. And Bobby was one of the strongest amongst all his classmates, and often put himself between the instructor and the child, who some of them can't even talk.
Yeah.
And I just remember one time Bobby was in the Special Olympics basketball team at the high school, and I walked in and all the kids were looking pretty sad, but as soon as they saw Bobby come in from behind me and he ran up the court to be part of his team, kids were cheering. I had never seen this before, but he really, he put himself out there and always treated other kids who couldn't speak as well or walk as well or communicate. He connected with all of them, and they cheered for him, really pure cheering, and it was so moving to me as a mom.
Right.
I'll never forget it. And I always like how he stood up and spoke for them, because he knew what was right. They didn't have a voice, and you were getting your voice. But we didn't stay long at that high school and moved. Then the pandemic.
So, hold on.
Yeah.
So, that was the school that I had left that abused me physically. The school that I went to next would abuse me by gaslighting. They wouldn't touch me, but they abused me with gaslights, oh, you retard, you don't belong here, you don't belong here in McLean, you don't belong here in this area, you're a low life, call me, words like faggot, you're gay, blah, blah, blah. Just accept it. And I was like, no, I have a right to be here as much as you do. God put me here. It's my God-given right under the Constitution to be to have freedoms, to be here. I'm exactly where God needs me to be, and I confront them on these things, and I'd be like, when they call me, are you stupid or something? Are you an idiot because you don't get this, And I go, no. Why, are you, or is this your intelligence? And they'd be like, well, no, of course not. I'm not an idiot. And this.
Then, yeah, there was one. Remember that one guy in the office who said, "Contact me anytime you need anything.
Oh yeah,
you can hang out in my office if you need to, or whatever." And when Bobby needed help from him,
he's like, these were his words. "I'm sorry, Bobby, I can't. My hands are tied." On this one, I said, "You said to come to you for anything. If I need your help, to come to you for anything." And he said, "I'm sorry, Bobby. I don't know what to tell you." I was like, shit.
Bobby didn't do anything wrong, but he, some kids, they like to make fun of other kids who are just learning things socially and
taking away person's dignity.
Yeah, being bullies. But they went with the other one, what those girls were saying, which wasn't true.
Yeah, because they would make up these gossip about me. Now, albeit maybe like 1% of it was true, but the other percentage, like the other 110%, was not true. Then maybe a few things would be true. Like, I do go to this school. I made a mistake by getting in touch with the wrong guy to become friends with. He led me to be getting in trouble. And so they took advantage of me and started calling me like the worst person in mankind, like I'm Hitler or something. And Jeffrey Dahmer, all these ugly things. And I said, because I was very trusting. I was very young and naive in that time, but now that I'm older, I understand more things. And I was like, well, I'm a pretty good kid once you get to know me. And this last person that bullied me at that school was a blonde kid. I wasn't willing to put up with any bullshit anymore. And him and I got into a school fight, and then luckily this police officer that knew me asked me, okay, what happened? And I said that he put his hands on me. First, I was like, I don't want to be bullied anymore, saying stuff like that. I won't go into all the specifics, but I'll just say, the highlights of what happened. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your point of view from, from a child's point of view, because there is a video out there pertaining to the youth that have PTSD and their experiences. I ran across it and I said, well, I think I can play this on Facebook with the family, that family group with long haul COVID with the kids. So, I
just want to say this before I forget. And now, as an adult, things are more advanced, now that I'm going through those things. What I go through now is I don't look for these people, but I come into contact with these difficult people who are like that, those people that I met before, and very, unstable in their mind and very abusive. And I'm like, God, please lead me away from evil and from temptation to good stuff. And I cope with it in my own ways. And it's just hard.
Bobby copes with life with running. That's his passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Focusing my chi, running, reading. Just some of the things that I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are far more greater amount of people with PTSD, even if it's brewing a little bit after this pandemic. I mean, biologically, many people are affected, may not know they're affected by the pandemic.
But one of the biggest things,
that's another topic,
is the pandemic.
Yeah, let me find the research on that. PTSD with long haul COVID. Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms from there that we will address on another day. I'm looking at the time. But I ain't trying to cut you off, but you take it to another topic.
Oh no, I'm just saying that there's more to PTSD.
Yeah.
That people have to look at it every possible angle. And like Wayne said, it's very important to find a trusted person. And for that person to listen for a while.
And for me, it's like my brother, my mom, and my brother would be like, "What happened in those days?" And I'd tell him what happened. He just listened to me. And we'd work out that stuff.
That's good. He's a good listener.
And I prayed to God. I said, "God, please send Archangel Saint Benedict to remove any evil, any curses, any witchcraft from us." And and I find myself met with these people and these decisions, and I pray about it. And similar to Sam, I try to find a way to work through them, get away from these people. So I understand completely where he's come from. I see a lot of similar stuff in me too. Albeit, different and similar, but in two different ways. Or two different people.
Wayne, you wanna?
Got some more people
coming. Okay, I just wanted to say I'm signing off.
You signing off?
Yeah.
Anyway.
He tried to say something, y'all. He tried to say something. We ain't done yet, Wayne. We ain't done yet. You see people still coming in here. But I do appreciate you, Wayne, for coming in with your expertise and sharing your personal experiences of, has suffered through PTSD during your time and how you handled and coped of having that in the situation that surround you during those different episodes of different situations. And that opened up a whole lot of awareness even for me, and I'm pretty sure for those that were listening as well. For all of y'all who's coming in near the end, you can always go to my YouTube channel, Rachel Pope, the number 7, and go subscribe, and you go to my playlist, look for good news, and you will see all the past things that I played, from webinar to podcast. It's all good news, so entertainment, so education, and there's going to be a whole lot more that's coming soon. Please go to my GoFund page to help support me as a host as well as an artist in my situation through some experience with stalking and PTSD. So that is why I'm playing these things, because I'm educating myself to have a better understanding how to survive and how to live my life the best way possible with long haul COVID. How did that sound? Did I put it all in a nutshell?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
so,
You did good. Yeah.
I'm trying to handle all this without stressing my body out, because my body is very sensitive to any kind of stress. And y'all,
Mm.
if y'all didn't see it on my Facebook page doing my physical therapy, my pressure was like 197 over 90 something. And he said, "You're not working out today." He says, "I see that you had trigeminal." And he said, "Let me show you how to massage your face and your head." And I actually got pampered yesterday. I didn't know I was going in for that. And I'm gonna make sure I videotape. I videotape a little bit, but the one that I did on Facebook, I almost fell off the table.
Oh gosh.
Because I was turning on my side because it was getting so good. He put this this heat pad on my face, and it had some weight because it was clay. And I said, "Oh, I like this." And I was getting comfortable talking to the people coming in, because it didn't look right. It looked like somebody probably hit me in the face and then put an
Okay.
ice pack on me. So that didn't look good that day. And so my back was hurting because I won't land on the massage bed the right way. So I needed to turn sideways. And as I was turning sideways, I didn't know how close I was at the edge. And I showed the camera, I was right at the edge. And one of the ladies said, "Be careful, we don't want to see you fall on the floor."
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was that close, and I got comfortably. And so he gave me a session longer than 30 minutes. He was like, "You can lay right there till your ride come." I said, "I can." Oh, y'all, I can sit here and talk to y'all while I relax.
Yes.
So my first physical therapy is being pampered. And then my girlfriend didn't want to kidnap me. And I was, "Don't take me home. Take me home." But I needed that. So God knew what I needed, right? And I
Yes.
needed that. And I had to prepare myself for the day, because I really didn't know what I was gonna play today until I got in conversation with some folks. And then I said, "You know what? That's gonna be the topic." Because we get a lot of people suffering from depression, PDS and PTSD, and some more things.
Yeah.
Like you said, America, that right there by itself, and society as a whole, with the pandemic, and yeah, a lot of mental health stuff started happening, a whole lot more. So we're going to talk about that another day, and I will
Yeah.
have an hour
Yeah,
worth
that
of
was
I
video
want
on that.
another big thing.
I wanted to share one thing. My kids were the ones who started using "Mom, I need a mental health day,"
Yeah.
and they would give you this look like, "We really need it,"
Yes.
and I could tell whether they were just like, no, they just want to stay home, like kids, like they try to get out of school. But there were times, during the school year, they'd be like, "I really need a mental health day." I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I didn't know about mental health days like that taking off for mental health. So
Hmm.
my kids started asking for it. And this was like middle school. Yeah, maybe fifth grade and on, they started using those words.
Uh huh.
Fifth grade, middle school. And then, pandemic happened, and that was a whole thing in itself. So, but it's really something when your kids start saying, "I need a mental health day."
and they mean it.
Yeah.
They mean it. My godmother was sharing she was sharing with me what this mother told her about her child coming home and said the child said that they had a special friends that her mom didn't even have. And I said, "What?" It's, Mommy, I got special friends, and you can't have these friends. These are my friends. And the mother said, "What kind of friends are you talking about?" Okay. I try to figure out how to say the words without being restricted. I already got restriction on here, but the little kid said, "Mommy, my friends are not." He said, "Pink friends." And pink friends? Yes, Mommy. You got all these pink friends, but you don't have my kind of friends. And then pretty much his friends were brown friends. And you talk about the R all the time. And so that's why I'm not introducing you to my friends. You can't have my friends. I love my friends. So the words out of the baby's mouth. So she had to really rethink her whole life all over again based on what her child said. And he showed pictures of his friends, and then she evaluated herself. Just said, "Oh my God, my only child taught me the difference of how to love everybody, not just one type."
And I think that's what we all need. We're all looking for love so we can get back to that,
Yes.
healthy state.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Right.
where we want to be. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
It's all about love. And that's his religion. Love. And that's it.
And on that note, I'm gonna sign off, Rich. I'm gonna hand it back to.
Wade done cancel out. Now
Yeah.
Bobby done cancel out. Amira is tapping.
Yes. I'm here. I'm here with you.
That was funny. I really appreciate y'all guys
I've
for
been like waiting. When do
participating.
I get? Is that a hot tea or a hot coffee? I can't tell, but I've been waiting for it. It just looks so enticing.
Yeah, girl, I've been sipping on mine. I'm down to the last sip.
Oh.
But I know I need to go, but it feel like I don't want to go. I think you say that yourself, Amir. I had fun. I'm gonna turn the camera around because TikTok don't think this is my original content because they saw me playing the video for YouTube. Yeah, they got restricted, so I gotta go against
There
them.
you are.
Oh, look at my eyes again.
Yes.
Thought I switched that off. What? I'm scaring myself. Jesus, please, hold up. Does that change it? See,
a little bit.
Do you see a little face in front of me?
What little?
You don't see it like I do. Good.
The little fangs?
You see anything between my eyeglasses?
I see glasses. I see eyeglasses.
All right, because in my face I see. Man, hold up. No, we can't go out like that.
Yeah, it looks like
I saw those white eyes again.
Oh, yeah. I see like wolf eyes.
Daggone it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I got to deal with that, not look at myself really, but I just want to come on to say I'm a real content creator.
I'm a real girl.
I'm a real girl with fake eyes. see that. I thought I changed it, but it must have flipped back. But it's okay. But next Wednesday, don't know what the topic is gonna be. But every Wednesday just about is pamper day for me. I don't know about you, but for me it is. And um 7 o'clock, I try my best to be on time. A little bit ahead because I try to invite my friends, bring them on in so they can share. And next time, tap. I appreciate Long Haul COVID Association. You guys go check them out. They got a website. They got a link, all that on their site. And donate to them because they are doing research on long haul COVID. Yeah. Yes, they are. And I'm a part of
Thank
that
you.
too. Okay.
You're a
So you guys,
pioneer.
yeah, I'm a pioneer. And
Yes.
I'm glad to be one.
Your eyes are stunning.
Stop lying. These are not my eyes, y'all. Now they look blue. Is it blue or gray? Because I can't. What color are
They
they?
look kind of bluish, yellow, or blue
Blue?
gray, blue greenish. It
I'm glad.
changes.
I'm glad it's because my attitude.
Yeah.
Because my attitude, see my eyebrows.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. But they look like my real eyebrows, though. They do. Anyway, I'm out here playing with the daggone.
Filter.
Hey,
That's funny.
y'all see that? I can't see you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
gotcha. Oh, yeah, they put different eyebrows.
they move it
Ah.
up and down. I thought I'd light a candle. But as I stated, let me get back focused. See how
Yes.
I got distracted so easily. But go to Long Cover Association, you guys. Make your donations there to support their study, research study, to help all of us who are affected. Okay, please do that. It's very important. It's like emergency, life or death, for real. And go to my GoFundMe and support me as a host. Support me to sustain me here um, while I'm going through my studies here in NIH, and I'm trying to sign up with John Hopkins, and while I get my SSI, okay, to sustain and have my own independence as an artist here in Maryland. So if you go through the rest of my posts further down, you can see the artwork that I've done in the community. If you go to my Facebook page, you will definitely see a whole lot more there of my history. And what else? Did I miss out anything? No.
Make sure they go also to
Oh,
your YouTube channel.
oh, my YouTube channel, Rachel Pope #7. Oh, and let me not forget, go to Oh Hello Heather, Long COVID Community. This is how I met Amira and everybody that I bring forth to you guys. Go to her GoFundMe too. She started my GoFundMe for me. So go there to support her as well. Every Saturday at 8 o'clock. If you don't know anything about long COVID, go there. If you know anybody with long COVID, send them there, okay? And you get a host of kind of information right there. It's like family. Very, very good place to be. Who is this? It was Friday. It was Friday. What day is it? It's
Today?
Wednesday. I think that was the person's um name. I don't know if it
Oh,
is their
yeah. That
name.
was one of the
It was
guests.
Friday. It's a
Yes.
guess. What you gonna say? How you gonna say that on a Friday?
Yeah.
What the word make you say that? I'm curious. What make him want to say it was? You're right. It was. Okay. Anything else? Tomorrow I'll go. Yeah, y'all. Keep me in prayer with this. I go for my CT scan of both of my lungs for the scar and for pneumonia. Um. Yeah. Let's pray that. Let's pray that it's gone.
Yes.
Let's pray that the report come back gone. All right. So.
Amen.
I did that. That took a lot. Okay, I gotta go freshen up my tea. I'm trying to make sure in my head I'm thinking of everything. Um, that's about it. That's it. I gotta get prepared for tomorrow and take in all of what Wayne said. Oh my goodness, it's sad though. It's really sad of the suffering.
It can be scary too. Like
Yeah.
he didn't know, but when he went in for surgery, it was only supposed to be 2 hours. So I had packed a dish for him that I'd learned to cook at home. This dish, it's like an Indian dish, tikka masala or butter chicken, and made it with rice, packed it, to have him have some home cooking when he came out of surgery and to celebrate his birthday. Well, a couple hours passed, 2 hours passed, another 2 hours passed, and I'm waiting going, what's going on? First off, it was hard to wait and not eat that good smelling food, because we're in this small waiting area and it smelled so delicious. But then as the hours click by, everything goes in your mind. What could have happened? What could have happened?
Yeah.
Because to be under that long under anesthesia, he had gone out. The surgery was only like a short time period, but they kept coming back to me saying that he's still not out of recovery, or they're still working on him. And I'm like, I was about to lose my mind after 6 hours, 7 hours, because when they tell you it's only going to be 2 hours, and 6 hours clicks by, and then almost 7, you're wondering, I need some update here. And sure enough, the nurse finally came to get me, to take me down, and then I hear the story from when Wayne could actually talk to me and explain what happened. Because it took him a while to recover from, even giving them what he didn't process very well physically in his body, and he warned them about it with, here's the data. They all have their routine ways of doing things and forgetting people are individuals, and ignored his genetic profile and still did it the way they wanted. And they got to see firsthand, you have to treat people individually for their unique ways, and they got to have firsthand experience. The nurse said she had to really, talk him down to know where he is, because most people don't jump out of the bed, hospital bed, right after a spine surgery.
Yeah.
They don't do that, but there he was. I can just imagine his gown is barely on. He's in his birthday suit, scurrying around, and they're trying to. It was something. So.
Yeah.
I was glad, number one, that he was well enough that he could jump out of bed, but that was pretty scary to be so altered.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
anyway.
that was serious right there.
Yeah. So
glad that he was transparent and shared that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can be able to download this video before they take it away.
Gotcha.
I try to fight against it. They denied it while I was on my live because
Oh.
this is an educational component. So um, I don't know. I think it's AI miss.
Oh yeah. They
Yeah,
automatically
because
do
I was
that.
already up here. I showed my face first, and
Yes.
then I played my video. So I'm gonna let them know this is educational information.
Yeah.
I'm a part of this. That's why I
Yeah.
try to pause when a break comes, say something,
Yes.
see if that worked, and then come at the end and show my face instead of just hear my voice.
Yes.
See if that worked. This is my content. It was about um, PTSD. I got to
Yeah.
keep it in my brain to say that. The
Yeah.
T.
Yes. Okay. Good night, Queen.
What is that?
I'm gonna sign off, Queen.
I know you got my symbols. I did like this.
Yes.
All right, I love
Oh,
everybody, and
love
so
you too.
I see everybody next Wednesday if the Lord's willing. What to say, the creek don't rise or something like that.
Alrighty. Thank you
All right,
so much.
okay, thank you guys. Appreciate
You're
y'all.
welcome.
Okay,
Appreciate you. Thank you.
love you.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.